myself. Let me start with so people who have joined in must be thinking that why they need to attend this talk and how is this going to be helpful. Another presentation. It's already too hot. The weather is so bad. It's why are we still doing it? It's not part of my academic course, then why I'm wasting my time? Let's watch a season instead. Let's watch Article instead because everybody is crazy about that season. So before I jump into the main part of my presentation, I wanted to tell you guys that why do you think why you should attend this and how this can be helpful. So before I jump into that, I wanted to ask few if they can answer that how are you really feeling right now in this COVID situation, keeping COVID situation in mind that you are quarantined, how are you really feeling? Satya, can they like respond?
Um, if they want, they can through chat, or maybe they can write down their responses as well, and then after a few seconds, then you can move on.
Okay. So if
And
I
in the end, they would be able to share their experience as well, definitely.
okay, so if I ask you how you're really feeling, I will put in some of the feelings which I have felt too, and I think mostly with the experience that I have dealt with my clients, my seeing my family members, I've jot few of the emotions and feelings like you're bored,
Yeah.
anxious, distressed, you're feeling numb, irritable, you're scared, you're confused, isolated, lonely, insomniac, or everybody's sleep pattern is completely disturbed, angry, distant, blank, traumatized, drained, cut off, uncertain. You don't know how it's going to end, when it's going to end, what will be the next day like. Lazy, you're procrastinating everything. Exhausted, you don't feel like doing any work. Even if you have, for instance, you have woken up and you are still exhausted after waking up. Disinterested in everything, frustrated.
Seems seems like Tuba, you have put it everything whatever we have been feeling.
And these are all interconnected as well. You are
Yeah.
confused, which makes you angry. You are frustrated, which makes you isolated, or you are anxious, that makes you disinterested. You are stressed, that might lead you to laziness and being procrastinated. So just imagine if this is looking so much jumbled up on my slide, how a person must be feeling if they are feeling, God forbid, everything or even few out of these. How it must be feeling
True.
inside your head, like if you are juggling so many balls at the time that you might not be able to. So, this is why knowing your emotions, understanding your feelings, and then able to manage it is going to help you in this COVID situation. You will better be able to cope with it. You will be better in connecting. You will be better at communication. So, knowing all of these emotions, how do we manage all of these emotions? Now, the answer to that is self regulation. Self regulation, self management is the key lock to unlock all those questions that are going right now in your mind. Like, why don't adults do exactly how we feel like doing it when we feel like doing it? As adults, we pretty much have free reign to do anything whenever we want to. The vast majority of us won't get arrested if we don't show up to work, or nobody will put us into jail if we eat like cake for breakfast, right? But still,
Yeah.
why we still show up to work? How we refrain ourselves to not eating cake in breakfast. Sometimes I do, that's okay, but not every single breakfast, right? You don't eat cake. You eat something healthy or less delicious instead. So how are you able to do that? The answer is self-regulation. It's a very vital skill, and we are doing it in general, but not we don't put much of thought into it. So this becomes a very unconscious thing. So when we realize it, it becomes easier to apply it in almost everything: how we are feeling, how we are acting, why we are behaving in a certain way. So what is self-regulation then? Now, self-regulation can be defined in many ways, many various ways. More specifically, emotional self-regulation refers to ability to manage disruptive emotions and impulses. In other words, to think before acting. It also reflects the ability to cheer yourself up after disappointments and to act in a way consistent with your deepest held values. At some point in everyone's life, emotions can spin out of control, and which is very okay, which is absolutely normal. Whether provoked by an argument, professional or personal failure, concern about the loved one, unchecked emotions can lead to regret of things said and done in the heat of the moment. And it's not even negative emotions that have the ability to harm. Sometimes positive emotions like excitement, triumph, can be negative in the wrong context. So unless the emotions are regulated, any type of emotions can be harmful or can be regretful in the future. So, in the most basic sense, it involves controlling one's behaviors, emotions, and thoughts in pursuit of the long-term growth. Um, Now, over here, you might ask two basic questions. What is the difference between self-regulation and self-control? Now, self-control is about inhibiting your emotions and impulses. Instead, self-regulation is about reducing both the intensity and frequency of those emotions and impulses. In many ways, the self-control is like a very small part of self-regulation. Self-regulation is more valuable in the long run and for our long-term goals. Second question, which I think you should know what is the difference between emotions and moods, because in my further discussion this will be helpful. Basic difference is that mood cannot be expressed. Emotions can be expressed instead. Another difference is that the moods may have longer effect than the emotions last for a very shorter period of time. So in general context, I would say that climate is the mood and weather is your emotion.
Okay, Tuba.
Yeah.
Tuba. So before moving on, I have one question, and I'm sure the audience will also be thinking few of them. Okay, like you mentioned about the emotions and different feelings, yeah. So sometimes it's very difficult to pinpoint our emotions and to what we are feeling right now, what we are kind of experiencing right now. It's very difficult because it's all like you said, it's all jumbled up in our head.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest that how can we pinpoint, like there is one person in the audience, he also said that I feel very exhausted, and because of the I also feel that because of the exhaustion, we can't pinpoint what is actually am I feeling right now at this moment. So in that regard, what do you suggest, what do you advise, say how can one person pinpoint exactly okay, how they can pinpoint about their feeling, about their emotions in a situation, how they can help themselves in that regard. If you can please let us know about that.
I have covered a little bit in my slides later, but I'll say in this context that it's not a technique. It's not it's a learning process. You can't do it and learn it and know it overnight. You need to learn it through, and you are going to make mistakes. It's not that
Hmm.
okay, one day you were able to do understand your emotions and the other day you were not, and that is fine. Um, Again, because and I'm going to talk about it in my later slides also, but if you're talking about right now in this COVID situation, many people ask me that we are having this anxious feeling, we are having this
Hmm.
uncertainty, that we have lost the control over the situation. For instance, if I get a break from my work, I might not, for instance, कभी कभी long weekend मिलता था, तो I would like, I'm not going to leave my house. I'm going to stay inside and
Yeah.
not meet anyone. But that is my choice. But somebody telling me you cannot leave the house or you should stay inside takes the sense of autonomy away from me, takes that self control away from me. So that makes me
Exactly.
anxious. So now, keeping COVID situation in mind, I would say whenever someone tells me that I am trying to make myself feel normal, but I am not, and I'm having all of these feelings, first thing that we need to understand, for instance, if you're passing a road and someone comes at a gunpoint and asks you to take your phone away, Will you be smiling at the time? No, you will be scared. You will be anxious. Nobody is going to ask you to be happy because that is a very abnormal situation. Same goes in the book. It is an abnormal situation. And what you are feeling is normal in this situation. Feeling anxious, feeling uncertain, feeling a little bit loss of control is okay to feel. Now, allowing yourself that, okay, because the situation is like that, you might have this, and everybody is feeling that way. It's not just one person. Everybody is feeling that way. It gives the sense of, okay, I'm not alone. Everybody is with me. We are all in this together.
Hmm.
Helps you regulate better. And then again, you don't have to be normal in this abnormal situation because it is an abnormal situation and you can be anxious to allow yourself to be. So, Udhari, sometimes when you give yourself and allow yourself and give yourself permission, that becomes a little easier to process.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So over here, I would say that the goal of any kind of therapy or any kind of awareness regarding individuals' ability to self-regulate or gain or regain the sense of control over one's behavior and life, psychologists and professionals might see it in a two different aspects. Either it is behavioral self-regulation or it is emotional self-regulation. Now, behavioral self-regulation is the ability to act in your long-term best interest, consistent with your deepest values. Like it is what allows us to feel one way but act another. If you ever dreaded getting up and going to work in the morning, but you convinced yourself that you have to go because you remembered your goals. For example, you wanted a raise because you want to perform better, you want a promotion, or you want to have a better grades, you want to complete a task, you want to complete an assignment, and your basic needs like food, shelter. This in this context, it means that you have displayed a good behavioral self-regulation. On the other hand, emotional regulation involves control or at least influence over your own emotions. Like if you ever have talked yourself out of a bad mood or calmed yourself down when you were angry or you were under pressure, that means that you have displayed an effective emotional self-regulation. Now, I'll talk very briefly. I'll talk about the theory behind self-managing your emotions and behaviors. I believe that when you want to apply something and when you want to learn something, you need to know a little bit about the theory behind it. Then it makes the application process easier. Because when you know the logic, that is how it works for me. When I know the logic about something, it helps me to apply and it helps me to absorb the theory better. So, self-regulation theory (SRT) that I will be using on simply outlines the process and components involved when we decide what to think, what to feel, what to say, and what to do. It is particularly very important in context of making healthy choices, the right choices, when we have a strong desire to do something opposite, like refraining from eating the entire pizza just because it tastes very good. So according to modern SRT experts, the four components involved, first of all, is standards of desirable behavior. And we set our standards by ourselves. We know that, okay, in these situations, I am going to behave in a certain way. That's why when anyone close to you, either in your family or your friend circle, colleagues, if you see someone who is almost very happy all the time, but they are sad, you do ask them that is everything okay, because they are not showing a standard behavior. Like if someone is crying, or because they don't cry often, you're going to ask them is everything okay, because they are not showing a desirable standard behavior, right? Then motivation to meet that standard, monitoring the situation and thoughts that might break those standards, and then the willpower, allowing one's internal strength to control the urges. So what happens is that these four components interact with each other and determine our self-regulatory activity at a very given moment. According to SRD, our behavior is determined by our personal standards of good behavior, our motivation to meet that standard, and degree to which we are consciously aware of our circumstances and actions. So our willpower will help that to refrain ourselves from those temptations and then choose the right path, at least the best path in that situation. For instance, if I don't agree to what my for instance my supervisor is telling me, I don't agree to that theory, or I do not agree to that concept, I have the standard that okay, I will first go home, I will research about it, that what I am thinking is different from hers, so maybe I'm wrong or am I right? I'll make the research about it, I'll read upon it, then I will make a judgment instead of saying right then and there that no, you are wrong and I am right. So being defensive is not my standard. So my willpower will be that I will control my urge not to create that dispute then and there, read upon what I think, have that concrete evidence, and then I'm going to act upon it. Um, the psychology behind self-regulation. Albert Bandura is one of my favorite psychologists of all time. I think he was a cognitive behavioral psychologist himself, and I think he is the one who inspired me to come into cognitive behavioral therapy. If you haven't heard about him, he was the one who did the Bobo doll experiment, the experiment about understanding is aggression nature or nurture. So it's a very good experiment. Do read upon it and his researchers. But the best thing that he gave a beautiful concept called self-efficacy. Now, self-efficacy plays a very significant role in process, exerting its influences on our thoughts, feeling, motivations, and actions. So, what self-efficacy is? My belief that in my capacity to execute behaviors necessary to produce certain actions, it means that self-efficacy will reflect confidence in the ability to exert controls over my motivation, my behavior, and then the social environment. That is what self-efficacy is, that I have believe in my potential, and then I'm going to do, and that will affect how I think and how I behave. So other than that, let's do a quick thought experiment over here. Now, imagine these two people who are highly motivated to lose weight. They both are actively monitoring their food intake and their exercise. They have specific measurable goals and they have what they have set them for themselves. One of them has high self-efficacy and he believes that he can lose weight when he will put in effort. On the other hand, the other person has low self-efficacy and feels that there is no way that he can lose weight even if he follow all the regime that he has designed for himself. So my question here is, what do you think will be better able to say no to second helpings and desserts? Which of them do you think will be more successful in getting up early to exercise each morning? I think we can say reasonable with certainty that the man with higher self-efficacy is likely to be more effective. Even if both men started at the same exact standards, monitoring and motivation, because the person who had believed that he will be able to be successful and will reach to the certain goal, he will have a higher chance to achieve the goal. Now, we know the theory, we know the why are we doing this, but what's the important? Now it's easy to see how lack of self-regulation will cause problems in our life. Like a child who yells and hits other children out of frustration will not be popular among the peers and may face reprimands at school. An adult with poor self-regulation skill may lack self-confidence, self-esteem, and have trouble handling stress and frustration. Now, often this might be expressed in terms of anger, anxiety, and in more severe cases may be diagnosed as a mental disorder in future. So, self-regulation is also important in that it allows you to act in accordance with your deep-held values or social, like what the environment is demanding you to act in a way, and to express yourself appropriately. If you value academic achievement, it will allow you to study instead of stack or procrastinate before a test. You are going to study because you know what your goals are. You know in your potential, you know that you have to act because there's a test tomorrow. So instead of procrastination, you are going to study. If you value helping others, it will allow you to help the co-worker with the project or your friend with the project, even if you have your deadline to yourself. So if you have set a goal to yourself, you will be able to pursue that goal. In its most basic form, self-regulation allows to bounce back from failure and stay calm under pressure. These two abilities will carry you through life more than other skills also. So even not just in academically, it's going to help you when you are at home. It will help you when you are with your friends outside your academic environment. Uh, over here,
So, Tuba,
yes, yes.
I would like to ask a question like this, something like, okay, I have a query. Okay, like you said, okay, while you did that experiment, na, you said there is one person who have like, this high self-regulation, and that person will be more motivated, like, to lose his or her weight. And that person will get up in the morning and will do exercise and like, do a proper diet and workout. But sometimes like it happens like despite of having everything like making a perfect timetable, even then the person like just cannot like pull him or herself like to get out of the bed and like do that exercise, or despite of like having or making a perfect plan like a timetable, I would say that. And still they procrastinate. And even now right now in this situation like okay, when there is kind of like little hope for the future, and like there is a lot of uncertainty, there is one also issue like that people are also facing, like I also feel sometimes like okay, sometimes it's very difficult like to go according to the plan and do what like you want to do, like the exercise. So how, what do you think, like, okay, in that situation, how a person, like, can help or motivate him or herself, like, towards that goal? Anything, like, that you would like to suggest? Like, what's your thought on that?
Okay. It's a very good question, Sadaf. Thank you for asking that. Over here, what we do is, because I can tell that not as a psychologist, as a human being who have tried it herself. Like,
Yeah.
I would say that when I was, like, when the quarantine started, after 2 weeks, I was very motivated to start home gymming and get into the shape that I wanted. Now, what I did was, which I'm going to talk about in my next slide also, that I made what I think what you are asking is that whoever is not able to do it is because they made the mistake that I did. I made a very unrealistic plan. I made something that I know I would not be able to like achieve in that particular time. I should have broken that. For instance, if I am not working out completely and suddenly I give myself a task that I will start working out with 2 hours. And on treadmill,
Hmm.
I'm going to run for half an hour, then I'm going to do some cardio, and then I'm going to do some weights. Keeping in mind that when I started the treadmill, within 5 minutes, I was so exhausted. And what happened when I saw my timetable, and I saw that my timetable demands me to exercise for 2 hours, instead, in 5 minutes, I am on the floor. Now, why it happened? I wasn't a failure. I was a failure in making the wrong plan. I needed to
Yeah.
understand, okay, that let's start with very basic things. That with my timetable, I'm going to start with like 10 minute exercise, 10 minutes cardio, 10 minutes this, and I'm going to divide it throughout the day. Instead of doing
Hmm.
it continuously before, like in the morning, a little bit before sleep, something like that,
Yeah.
and you change it. So what it happens is that even if I started with 5 minute exercise, by the end of the day, I will be so happy that okay, I was able to achieve it. Let's make it a 10 minute exercise. Okay, next day
Hmm.
I was able to do 10 minutes. Let's make it a 20-minute exercise, and then gradually increase it. What we do is that we bring a very unrealistic expectations out of ourselves. This is
Hmm.
what is happening to everyone. Because we do it
Yeah.
to ourselves, it becomes so unconscious that we do it with others also. We create
Hmm.
this unrealistic demands and expectations from others, which someone is not able to fulfill. We get into depression, we get disappointed, and this is why we do that. So we need to self practice that. And if you're, for instance, if you're keeping that example in mind, this is what we do. We keep
Hmm.
unrealistic expectations. So start with something that you are sure you will be able to achieve. so that by the end of the day you feel a little happy that you were able to achieve something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I also feel that like, when disappointment comes, it also brings like, next time procrastination as well. You feel that, oh, I made a very perfect plan last time.
Do that yesterday, I'm not going to be able to do it today, so let's just leave it. It's not for
Yeah,
me. Why it
exactly.
wasn't? Because you made it that way. I
Hmm.
believe that everybody can do anything, but they need to do it accordingly, according to their potential. Nobody is equal. If your friend was
Yeah.
able to lose weight in a 1 month, maybe you will be able to lose weight in a year. So you need to understand your metabolism. You need to understand your intake. Nobody is similar. Keeping that in mind, if your friend is getting an A star, it's not that he, okay, give me your timetable. Can you set a timetable for me so that I can get an A star also? That's not going to help because he
Yeah.
is different or she is different from us. So you need to understand and accept your own limitations and your own potentials. Then you are going to able to be successful.
I think you pointed a very good example, okay, because right now in this situation also, like, as a student, as a like, kind of like a worker, employee, everybody is trying to compare everything, like, with other people, like, how they are managing their time, how they are managing their work, like, and still they don't want to miss out anything, but they want to achieve their own things as well. So they are trying to, I think this is also like, it creates a sense of anxiety and a sense of left out feeling as well.
Absolutely. And this is all because we have created a very unrealistic routine to ourselves. And we need to break that up.
Yeah. Okay. So one more question. That's something that I had in my mind also, that one of the participants from the audience also asked, how a person can increase their self-efficacy, or like, how they can recognize that part of their like, personality or behavior, that this is something like, that's sort of I can count as my achievement or accomplishment, or this is my strength.
Yeah. I would say that what we first of all, everybody can improve their self-efficacy. Everybody has that innate potential in them. But again, for instance, I think whenever I suggest this technique to anybody, I tell them to start doing it with things they like doing. For instance, if I like cooking, I would try to improve my self-efficacy, the things that I like cooking. So I would take out a recipe and challenge myself that, okay, I always do something in this way. Let's bake today. So I'm going to try baking, and then when I will be able to be successful in that baking and everybody likes it, I will have that potential. Oh, I thought I would never be able to bake. I was able to bake.
Yeah.
So things like that. So always try in this concept with things that you like doing it, and when you know you will be able to do it, and then when you are having that faith in your potential, try to come out of your comfort zones and try improving your self-efficacy in situations which you are not comfortable in. Then, for instance, I'll tell you when I was in my master's, I became a better presenter in my master's. Before that, I have been a very submissive kind of a person. I wasn't very confident. I had always questioned on my self-esteem. Okay, everybody is going to laugh at me. Everybody, and what I did was I allowed
Yeah.
myself to be who I am, and I allowed everybody who didn't like me. It's okay. It's their choice. I also don't like many people in my life, and that's okay. If they're laughing
Mm.
at me, okay, let's make it a humor. Maybe I am very good at creating humor, so why not I use it in them? So, getting defensive with everything is not going to help you because you are going to find every kind of people in your life. So, if you're going to get defensive with everyone, you are never going to cope in any situation. So, what you need to do is that accepting over here will help you improve your self efficacy. If I'm, for instance, if I have never driven a car and I want to become a driver, I want to drive my car, what I should do? I should learn first. Instead, I won't just jump into a car and start driving. What will happen? That I would know I will bump my car into something, and then I will say, oh, I'm such a bad driver. You are not the bad driver. You just didn't pursue the goal in the right way. and then you're going to question your self-efficacy. So if you
Yeah.
turn these examples, whoever is listening to whatever is going in your mind right now, you would know that you have questioned your self-efficacy because you didn't plan out the goal right in the right way.
Yeah, I think you're right. And one thing, like, I would also share, like, what I experienced from my side as well. Like, okay, even if I do a kind of like a little thing in a day, like, it's kind of like a small thing. Appreciate yourself. I appreciate myself for that. Okay, like, I did that today. Okay, so maybe tomorrow I will be able to do more things, like, kind of like, in that my schedule. So it's okay if I did like one thing. I appreciate myself. So I think that's also like, gives you a kind of like a self confidence in order to increase your
And
self
it's a
efficacy.
process. मतलब it's a process.
Exactly.
Yeah, it won't like the ऐसा नहीं होगा कि अभी those who are taking this presentation right now with me, in an hour they have this highest self efficacy and boom in their self esteem. No, you're going to process this. You're going to try many things, and then you will be able to analyze whether you are doing these mistakes, small mistakes that makes you question your own capabilities. Then it's a process. You learn it, you apply it, and then it becomes the unconscious process. Because in our culture we are so unconsciously trained or conditioned to question ourselves all the time. We don't get time to make mistakes. We don't allow ourselves to make mistakes and then process it through, take responsibility. And then I'm going to Sadaf, with all these questions you are ruining my the later slide.
I'm so sorry,
No, no,
but
no, no,
like,
no.
I just wanted to ask like these
No, no, no,
questions.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please bring
Yeah,
in the questions. These are amazing questions. Okay, so
thank.
I think I was talking about, yeah, so importance of self-regulation. So
Yeah.
aside from very obvious benefits such as what I've just explained, that feeling better in the immediate terms
Mm.
at the heat of the moment, and then strong emotional regulation skills can also enhance the long-term well-being. Like over here, improving your performance at work, enriching your personal relationship, improving your connected, the feeling of connected and improves your peace. Someone asking a question?
No, I think somebody has joined and they forgot to mute their mic, basically. I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. It leads to an overall health better. Why? Because our executive functionings, our long-term well-being is affected when we are not self-regulating our emotions in the right way. Our focus decreases. We are not able, for instance, right these days, our focus is really damaged. We are not able to focus. We are not able to learn anything so quickly as we used to. We are not able to recall things as quickly as we used to. Our mood is swinging all the time. What we need to do is that our problem solving is getting affected. So self-regulation skills help us to attain long-term benefits, and these are all. And there are so many that I couldn't fit in one slide, but I'm going to talk
Mm.
about few of them in the next slides. Talking about EQ. Now, EQ, emotional intelligence, and well-being, how they are connected. Now, according to emotional intelligence expert Daniel Goleman, he is an excellent jurist who has worked so much on emotional intelligence. So, if please do research about him and study his work. He gave five components to emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, internal motivation, empathy, and social skills. So self-regulation, or the extent of an individual's ability to influence or control his or her emotions and impulses, is a vital piece of emotional intelligence. So if I have a higher emotional intelligence, I will be able to first control my impulses and understand others also. For instance, it's easy to say why, because can you imagine someone with high levels of self-efficacy, self-awareness, intrinsic motivation, empathy, social skills, but has low control over their impulses? This doesn't make a right picture. Why? Because if someone has good emotional intelligence, they will be able to self-regulate their emotions. They will have a better control over their emotions. and will have a better understanding of others also. Self-regulation and motivation to succeed. So, speaking of pursuing our goals that I've mentioned so many times, self-regulation is also very important in motivation. Now, an individual's level of motivation to succeed in his or her goals is directly related to the performance. If he has the best of intentions, well laid plans, and extraordinary willpower, he will likely to fail if he is not motivated to regulate those behaviors to avoid temptation and slack off. For instance, if I have a test tomorrow and I know there's this season coming out today, if I am able to resist temptations and I am motivated to get a better grade or better understanding to perform a better on a test, I will be able to avoid the temptations and will focus on my goal. And over here, I wanted to talk about what Sadaf just asked, that controlling your emotions with giving and setting the realistic plans for you, setting the realistic goals for you. If I have always been an low average student, I cannot expect an A in every single test. I can reach there slowly and gradually, but there is like a process to it. You need to understand. You can't, for instance, if you keep expecting A in every single test and you don't, you will get demotivated. Instead of, for instance, if I am getting C all the time and I am targeting a B, I will be able to jump to another step by studying a little harder, studying a little more, researching a little more, helping myself to attain more knowledge from different resources. Then if I got a B, I'll be more motivated, and then I'll expect myself to get an A. If every single time I directly jump to something, some goal that I will won't be able to achieve quickly, and I am getting disappointed, then I'm going to like my motivation will get affected. And every single time when there is this test, I have this anxious feeling, and I'm going to avoid studying. Instead, I'm going to go for something that I'm tempted to do, right? Going out, eating something, watching something, things like that, because you know that you won't be able to do well on the test. So let's just not study. It's not that the test is hard, or what students tend to do is, I know the teacher doesn't like me, they are going to give me a C. But why is that a reason? Teachers are not insane, they're not going to do that. So have you ever questioned your ability instead of questioning others? Why? Because in that uncertainty, instead of taking responsibility of your own actions, you try to outsource it because we
Mm.
have never been taught to self-regulate. Okay, self-regulation. Sadaf, you want to ask anything?
No, I think whatever I wanted to ask, you have covered. Thank
I
you.
So these skills are not inherited, but are learned and built over time that I have mentioned again and again. They are vital skills for navigating the world and they contribute to good decision making. In the end, we should have the ability to make the right choices and make the right decisions. So when we are able to successfully navigate the world and make good choices, we set ourselves up to meet our goals and enjoy the greater well. So the executive functioning help us in improving the working memory, like our short-term memories. We are able to, process the information that we recently took in. If you are in your class and your teacher is telling you something, and if you are not able to self-regulate your executive functioning, for instance, students always say that focus. The class is boring or the lecture is boring or I'm not able to focus. You need to understand that why is your working memory not much affected? Why are you not able to intake the given recent information? When we ask, for instance, if I am able to see, and teachers always know, when educator always know who is taking interest, who isn't. And when I see someone as a teacher that a student is not taking interest, when I ask them immediately what I just said, they're not going to answer that because they are not taking information right there and then, because their working memory is getting affected. Mental flexibility, our ability to shift our focus from one stimulus to another and apply context appropriate rules for attention and behavior. Now, multitasking, I can say over here that if you are thinking about something but you are listening to the teacher also, is there a relationship to it? For instance, if I am in a class and my teacher told me something, giving an example, and I was able to relate, I went into my memory lane. I start recalling some memories, but I'm listening to my teacher also and I'm relating to it. That's my mental flexibility. That I was able to shift my focus, but still was able to listen and apply in my and to understand the concept. Self-control, our ability to set priorities, regulate our emotions, and I'll keep saying that again and again because without this, you will not be able to do the other actions that I mentioned. Over here, I would say that self-regulation and how it is important in connectedness and communication. Now, either if you are at your work, you can take it in the context of a workplace or at home. Now, when we are feeling this uncertainty and we are bound to do something that we were never modeled to do, we never knew that pandemic is going to happen. We don't know how to, our problem solving techniques are being questioned. We don't know how to react to it. We don't know how to ensure safety to ourselves and our people around us. So we become these two extremes. It's a seesaw if someone is not able to understand this I try to make a seesaw. So either we become isolated, we seculate ourselves completely from others, or we try to dominate and try to be authoritative. For instance, if I am having this uncertainty that I don't know how to react, I don't know what is everybody talking about, I don't feel connected to everyone, I will isolate myself because I don't feel like connecting to anyone because I feel anxious. Either nobody is having the right idea, I know what to do, I know how to behave, you are doing it the wrong way, I know what you need to do. I am the right person, you are thinking in the wrong way. Instead, we need to find that balance that we should work as a team. Either you are at home or you are at your workplace. You need to play the part by being a good listener, by being the guider, supporter, encourage the differences in opinion. Always remember that you are not in the right authority if you are not able to accept others' opinions. And you need to be responsible. Now, for instance, एक चीज I think is very common. If I talk to someone, if I talk to 10 people, they have 10 different ideas about corona, first of all, and they have 10
Yeah.
different cures to it, right? And everybody has like a solution to it. Even WHO isn't able to find the vaccine, but every household in Pakistan has like a totka for it. So
I feel like
what we
everybody has become a doctor.
yeah, yeah, and the most annoying part is that you cannot eat this and then you can eat this. And for instance, if you are in your family and you are in this
Yeah.
dominating authoritative part, you will ban this food. Okay, you cannot eat this because this is going to help getting the coronavirus. Then
Yeah.
you need to be responsible of your own information. You need to be responsible of what you are saying and guiding to others. Being
Hmm.
a good guider doesn't mean that you need to be overpowering and you need to be dominating and you need everybody to listen to you. You need to be a good listener too. Guiders and best leaders are the one who first are good listeners, second have the ability to accept others' opinions as well. So
Hmm.
try to become this balance. Those who are becoming completely isolated, try finding at least one person in the family or even in your friend circle that if you talk to them, you connect to them, you feel a little secure. You talk your heart out. And if you cannot find anyone, write it down. I used to do that a lot. When I'm angry, when I used to be very angry at a person or in a situation, I used to write it down. And when I used to feel better. When I read it again, I could see that how irrational my anger was, how irrational my anxiety was. And then I used to circle where my thought process I knew was trying to be irrational. And then I could reframe it. Okay, it wasn't that bad also. Okay, the person wasn't trying to do this also. Okay, it's okay. If you allow others and yourself that little margin to feel certain emotions, it will help you to self-regulate as well. So
Yeah, and
here, yeah, yeah.
that's very kind of like a good example, like that you kind of like a conclude in a good way. Okay, if like the person can see okay whatever kind of like that person is feeling right now, they can better able to cope themselves and it won't affect their kind of like a communication with other people, and in that way their connection will not get hampered basically. Because right now in this situation, what's happening is that I can also see that in some families, some people feel that okay, they have so much information, they have everything that they know, they should know about coronavirus and about every this pandemic situation, and they are trying to control other people's behavior as well, in their family, in their friends. And this is something like you rightly said, that that's also affecting their communication and their connection.
Yeah.
And this is something that put them in either direction, or whether they get isolated or they are getting dominating, authoritative, and people are started having a distance from them basically.
Yeah. And I would say over here that life isn't what I see as like difficult situations, that life isn't about how you manage plan A. I think it's about how you cope with your plan B. And right now we are in
Yeah.
plan B and we are almost in plan C, if I think. So
True, true.
we need to make sure that we are modeling behavior that we want in return. But we should also be there when someone needs us, because in return you will also need someone when you are in a particular situation. So you need to model behaviors that you would expect in return.
True.
Okay, so moving ahead, the role of self-regulation in education. I feel that whenever, even moving from college, school to college, or from college to university, it's like a new life. It's like you are reborn. It's like whatever you have learned has a new aspect to it. So sometimes you are not able to apply the previous learning in the new situation, or you are like completely blank. You don't know how to react. You don't know how to, even in, for instance, in college, you were everybody's favorite, but in university, nobody wants to be your friend. So I think in every single stage, self-regulation helps you in education, in academic, in academic environments. So I would give a little bit. I won't take much time on this. That I think 3 times when self-regulation can aid the learning processes. When you are starting a learning task, students should consider the task, set the goals, and develop a plan to tackle the task. And during the task, when the student must monitor his or own performance and see how his strategies work. Like for instance, if they made a plan while doing the task, were they able to successfully pull it off? And after the task, when the student can reflect back on their performance and determine what worked well, what didn't, needs to change. For instance, I remember students telling me, Miss, I just read like coming just before coming into the class, that's why I failed. Or, you know what, Miss, I wrote everything down so I was able to recall better. Everything, it's very subjective. What works for you, you are going to know better. Teacher and supervisors can guide you. Of course, they have this knowledge, they have this experience they bring with themselves in the class, but you would know better what works for you and what doesn't. And when you are stuck in a situation, ask your supervisor, ask your teacher. They're going to help you out. They're going to help you in making plans. Teachers should follow these 3 things. What I believe is to help students continue to develop self-regulation. I believe that these things cannot be applicable in every single time, but sometimes you should apply it so the student, it helps you to develop that rapport also with the students. Like give students a choice in the task, methods, study partners as often as you can. I completely believe you cannot do it every single time, but sometimes you need to give in a choice. Give students the opportunity to assess their own work. For instance, what I do is sometimes give an assignment or give a like pop quiz, by and they have to check themselves. It helps them to understand their own mistakes, learn from their mistakes. Now, over here, teachers should encourage making mistakes also. I always tell my students that you will always remember your mistakes rather than your correct answers. So it's okay if you have made a mistake, try not to repeat it. If you are repeating it, that is where it is of a concern. But making mistake is fine. Now, paying attention to the student's belief also about his or her own learning. For instance, if I have given, I have kept a test just right after 2 days, and everybody in the class believes that no, miss, I think this is too much to study in just 2 days. Be a little flexible, be encouraging, be supportive when necessary. Again, it depends on the situation. Not every single time it is going to be applicable. Now, self-regulation and workplace. Self-regulation is very important in workplace. It what keeps you from yelling at your boss. It's what keeps you getting on your nerves, being aggressive towards your coworker who threw you under the bus. Now, or from engaging or being, showing some socially unacceptable behaviors, like for instance, falling asleep on your desk at your workplace or your academic or your college or university. So these tips are going to come off as very general, but it's very true that living general healthy life, I have taken and I have attached a PDF also. I will give to the host and she will share with the people who are attending. I have taken it from them because it has copyright issues. I couldn't change the words, but please go through that, and it has very interesting, healthy tips and techniques that how you can help manage your emotions at work. Strategies to improve self-regulation. Coming to, I think we have covered almost every aspect of theoretical part of what self-regulation is and how to what self-management is, but how to do that. Talking about first thing, which I think we have covered with the question what you asked for the establishing routines.
Yeah.
I believe that a chaotic home can lead to a chaotic mind. If everybody is not following a routine, now again, there should not be one routine for everybody at home. There should be a routine for everyone at home, and it should be discussed and made with mutual, consent. Like for instance, everybody, even if you are waking up late, if you are sleeping late, at least have meals together, have dining table discussions, have eat lunch and dinner together. It helps you to connect, it helps you to communicate, it helps you to feel. For instance, I always remember when I was completely busy in my work routine, I could do anything to get much time to spend with the family. And now that we have it, we are completely emotionally exhausted. We don't want to talk to our family members anymore. But we need to realize that this is the time that we are going to miss when we are back to normal.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm completely sure that the moment we are going to go back to normal, I am going to see post, oh, I miss quarantine time. Oh, I miss my this time. Oh, I miss, so let's not uh, waste it. Let's live it.
Yeah.
I know it's not. I think one thing that quarantine has teach me is that I can live my life with minimalistic things, and I
True.
can live my life completely. Like for instance, I haven't shopped for so many months, and now I realize that without that,
Me too.
I had already so many clothes. Why would I use to shop so much? Things like that. For instance, if I am having, like, last time I had like food from outside, like so many months back. Now I realize that why we used to order food so much from outside. Things that it you need to utilize this time to reflect and
Yes.
take it positively instead of I think those who want to lose weight, this is the right time, because the temptations of having KFC all the time and McDonald's, it's a little, it's out, it's unreachable. So let's just utilize that. So
They
again,
have to
making
open up again.
yeah, and making daily schedule and sticking to it. And again,
Yeah.
you're going to stick to a routine which is realistic. Please,
True.
this happens to me also. Sometimes I wake up and I want to do everything in a day. I want to prepare my lectures, I want to cook food, I want to exercise, I want to complete a season, I want to do everything in a day, and then next day I don't even want to leave my bed, I don't even want to change my clothes. So why do I feel this? Because I compact everything that I like
Great.
in just few days or one day or few hours. Instead, we need to break it down. We need to make it more realistic so we can accomplish that. Combat frustration and boredom. So create new projects for yourself, find new activities in which you can involve. Now I'll give my example over here, that I started my own group during quarantine, so that helped me to every day when I wake up I have plans, I am motivated, I want to do something, I'm getting connected with different people, different professionals, I'm learning so much. This helped me because I found a hobby for myself, I found a project for myself that keeps me going. So try doing these things. Try to write if you're a good writer. Try to write poetry if you love poetry. Do something that help you to motivate yourself to wake up every day and look forward to completing a day. Mindfulness. Now, over here, I would say that we need to manage this uncertainty by staying in the present, by staying in here and now. Now, research has shown that mindfulness is very effective at boosting one's conscious control over attention. Now, what we need to understand is that anxiety is either hooked in your past or in your future. If you try to stay here in present, you will not feel anxious, you will not have that um, that scared feeling that what will happen, how will happen, how will I go back to normal.
Uncertainty, basically.
Yeah, even we don't know, the quarantine is still going on and we are anxious about when the life starts, how will I cope with it. Don't think about that. Think about right and now that I need to complete this day successfully. I need to complete this day in a way that my family benefits from me, my workplace benefits from me, my education, my academic place, my friends benefits from me in any way possible. uh, Communicate, staying in contact with your friends, people that you feel secure with, so that you can stave off the boredom context or the sense of isolation that we have. Now you can do it, like for instance, we are right now all connected. This is the way engage. What I have done is that I have done many courses online, and it helped me to connect many people with many people. It helped me to educate myself, and very short courses. So what it did was that it helped me to boost my confidence that okay, I'm learning also, I'm doing something for myself as well. So in the end of the day, if I got a certificate, I was encouraged to do more courses. Cognitive reappraisal. Now, to build your cognitive reappraisal skills, you need to work on changing and reframing your thoughts. As I said earlier also, that when you are in a difficult situation, you know that you are about to, for instance, yell at your coworker. Instead, you immediately in your mind reframed it, okay, if I did it, what will happen? What are going to be the consequences? And then you calmed yourself down, you stayed calm under pressure, and then you thought about it when you were a little stable emotionally. And then you talked to your coworker and told him about your side of perspective, right? Instead of having that dispute then and there. So mindfulness and cognitive reappraisal are very connected. If you do mindfulness activities, it will help you to reframe your thoughts, reframe your actions. Looking at a situation, you need to take out the positive side of it. This is how we are going to survive. There's no other way. You have to look at the positive side. Either you're going to look at the half glass empty or the half glass full. It's your choice how you're going to look at the um, situation. Again, manage your expectation. I think I've covered this as well, that we expect so much
Yeah.
from unrealistically from the situation that in the end we get disappointed when we are not fulfilling our expectations from ourselves and others. Stay informed but not overwhelmed. I think too much information is as harmful as less information. So, as you were saying, that everybody has this own version of coronavirus, everybody has this own treatment for coronavirus. What we need to do is that we need to find the authentic sites, authentic resources, which will provide you the right stats, will give you the right information instead of, for instance, media, social media is just trying to sell something which is going to be very anxiety provoking. So what you do is limit yourself. For instance, even if someone sends me a forward message right these days about corona, I don't read it because I know I'm very much informed because I've read it from the right resources. If someone tells me, these many people have died, I always challenge them. No, I just studied last night from, for instance, I mostly follow WHO and they have the exact stats. So try to be informed but not overwhelmed by social media and news, especially in our culture. Now, leading and living with integrity. Being a good role model at home and at your workplace, both practicing what you preach, creating trusting environments, and living with
Tuba?
aligned. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask like how much we have left to cover because we need to cater our question answer session as well because we are exceeding our time.
Okay. I think I'll just cover this slide and then we can jump to, because I think we have covered. I'll show the slides and then we
Sure.
can jump to question and answer. So I'll just cover this. So now I think how can we be better leaders if we are doing self-regulation? I think that what I have read from different resources and what I have learned from my experience, that people don't listen to others. Being leaders doesn't mean that you always have to say. Now I see in meetings even people who consider themselves good leaders or at home who may be decent leaders will walk into the room and say that here is the problem and I think this is what I think. Now can you tell me your opinion? I think by that time it's too late. What you need to do is hold yourself to talk at the last, when everybody has spoken. It will give you two things. It gives everyone this feeling of being contributed, of staying connected, that they have been heard. Second, you get the benefit of hearing everyone's opinion before you render yours. So always believe and have this capacity in yourself to accept others also, others' opinions also. It will help you to understand that person also. I'll just quickly go through the slide that you need to be open to change. You need to know that your mindsets and cannot like be stubborn. You cannot be stubborn about your mindset and your beliefs. You need to be open to change, especially in this situation. You need to be ready to accept any kind of a situation, any kind of news, or like how you are going to cope with the situation. Identifying your triggers, for which I have provided, I will Sadaf give you a PDF. This will, if they read it through, that if I know that what my triggers are, I will either try to avoid those situations, or when I am in that situation, I would know that I'm about to trigger my emotions. So let's just calm myself down, things like that. Practicing self-discipline, I think that people who know that what their values are and what their self-disciplinary behaviors are, if you practice it, and I think this is the right time to do it. We have, because we have the whole every time of the at home, and we can practice it with the people who are safe, feel safe with. We can practice that, and it is going to help in self-regulation also. Reframing negative thought is the same as cognitive reappraisal. I'm not going to talk much about it. Again, as I said, you need to keep yourself calm under pressure. That is what your main goal is, because this is a situation which is completely abnormal and not not in our control. So this is where we can show our coolness the most. And considering the consequences before acting, always balance your choices and the consequences. That if you are making a choice to act in a certain way, you should be responsible for the consequences ahead. My favorite is that you believe in yourself, self-efficacy, what I mentioned before, that you need to know what your potential is, how much you can do, and challenge yourself so that you grow mentally and emotionally. Over here, I would just say that skills involved in self-regulation is necessary to achieve success in life, because this will help you to be a better person in every situation, either professional or personal. So always remember that why we are doing this, because not just for ourselves, we are doing it for others. If you feel in that way that quarantine is helping others as well, it's an altruistic act, you might feel better because you're not alone in this. Everybody is facing the similar thing, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tuba. And I would ask audience like if they have any question, like any query, like whatever they have, like they can ask like by talking, like through talk, and maybe they like they can mention in the chat as well. Meanwhile, if you can just quickly go through the chat, Tuba, because we
Let
have
me let me
Ali who have asked the question. And Asila, she has also asked a question. So if you can answer those questions.
okay.
You can find these questions in the below of the chat.
Looking for how to increase self-efficacy. I think you had
And this
asked
is
this,
something
Sada.
you answered that after
Yeah.
that, depression.
Okay, and depression is a sign that it was undiagnosed and periodic. Okay, so I recently taken an online procrastination test and result was 80%. So what should I do to resolve this? And even when the routine you have set is not bad. Okay, first, thank you for this question, Ali. Uh, I don't understand the sentence that even the routine you have set is not bad. What is not bad? Either it is practical or it is not practical. Bad can be in your perspective. Now again, if you perceive it as bad, you might never achieve it, even if it is very realistic. Now, if I think I'm quite sure if I'll take that online test, I will come 90%. So don't rely on these not valid tests. So try to find some authentic sources, and there is no psychological test to weigh your procrastination. If I'm in a mood that I don't want to do anything,
Yeah,
I might score 100%. And I think because I was looking forward for this presentation today, so I might come 20% today. So give yourself margin. Even if you procrastinated 100%, it's okay. Next day you might come less. So yeah, it's okay. Okay.
Uh, and Sadaf, I have a couple of things to add here. I've been attending quite a few mindfulness and wellness, webinars and sessions, and
mm-hmm.
there was a very important message that I got out of it was, look, it's a difficult situation, right? And we are
Yeah.
all trying to cope with it to the best of our ability. सबके घर के हालात, सबके सिचुएशंस यूनिक हैं,
बिल्कुल.
किसी के पास वर्क स्पेस घर पे है, डेडिकेटेड, कोई शेयर कर रहा है विद अ बिग फैमिली, and I really was quite encouraged that in one of the sessions they said that एक आप पर्सपेक्टिव की बात होती है कि आप या तो ये कह लें कि आई एम स्टक एट होम, या आप ये कह लें आई एम सेफ एट होम,
Yeah.
राइट? तो पूरी वो एक
True.
आपका नजरिया बदल सकता है.
It's all about your lens. आप देखना क्या चाहते हैं.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Asla.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's very well said that either I'm stuck at home, I'm
Exactly.
staying at home. I'm going to use that often now.
Yeah.
And
So
I think another
we have
question,
another.
we have talked about it, that also about the routine. At times you fail to continue your routine. You do well at the beginning, and there's the point you feel you need to break. Okay. Why is it so, or how can we? Okay, so I think what I'm getting from the question is that the moment I take a break from my routine, that's where I don't want to go back into the routine. That everything falls apart and then you don't follow the routine anymore. If I'm right, Raheem, this is what your question is. And absolutely, it happens. Again, I think you are giving yourself break in the routine after many of the tasks. So you need to give breaks after often. If you feel like that your focus level, your work, for instance, you're continuously working, you can't work for more than an hour, give yourself a break after 45 minutes, take a 15-minute tea break, water break, roam around, sit back again, or 20 minutes, even half an hour, that is fine. And then Again, for instance, if I'm not able to focus more than an hour and I'm giving myself a 10-minute break after 2 hours, it's never going to work. Whenever I'm going to go for a break, I will never join my routine back from where I stopped. So you need to again build up a routine and give yourself breaks often with smaller intervals, but do that. It helps you to focus more. It builds up your focus more. And how do I find a sense of purpose in these times? I think this is what just I didn't get her name who said about the well-being
Asla.
seminar.
Asla. She was
She,
Asla.
she said a very good thing, and that is the answer to your question. That the sense of purpose is all about your perception. As she said, that either you feel that you're stuck at home or you're safe at home. So, sense of purpose, to be honest, this is the time I think where everyone in the world has one sense of purpose, is to survive. And I think that is what this should be, and this is how we need to survive physically, so that we stay away from the germs and the virus, emotionally and mentally, to all whatever the activities I have just shared. You can start doing it in in small gradual amounts. Don't just overwhelm yourself doing everything in one go. Distribute it in your month, not even a week, and then you'll feel better. I think I'm not seeing any more.
Yeah, there's no other question. So I will just give a half a minute if there is another question from the audience so they can share over here. So
Sure.
I just want to add one thing, like, what Rahim asked, like, I also feel that, like, this also happens because, like you said, like, we set so much expectations from our own self, and we start our work, like, start off our work, like, with so much dedication, with so much energy, and in between of our work, like, we just lose hope and, like, motivation as well. We feel that we are tired, and we feel exhausted as well. So I think, like, this is just what you said also, like, it's really important to take small break. Once you complete one task, take a break, appreciate yourself, or I think reward yourself with something, like, this is something that will give you boost as well, like, for your next task or for your next, like, whatever kind of, like, work you have assigned for yourself. So this is something, like, that gives you a break, as well as, like, it gives you motivation as well, at the
Yes,
same time
yes,
encouragement as well, like,
accomplishment that you were able to achieve something.
exactly.
Absolutely, you're right.
Exactly, exactly. So I think so Ali have another question. Tuba, can you please answer that?
I want to ask how to remove negativity from yourself. Okay, it's again very generic question. You need to be very specific. If I'm talking about negativity, very subjective. Negativity can be very in change, vary from person to person. For me, I think watching the whole season in one day is negativity. For someone, it's productivity. So, if I feel that if I'm not talking to someone is negativity for me, and I think for not talking to me, not talking to anyone may feel the sense of security to someone. So again, negativity can be very different. What kind of a negativity you're talking about? And negativity is, if you're talking about procrastination, again, it's a part. Negativity, positivity, your limitations, your potentials, what you can do and what you cannot do is a part of you. You need to cherish what you can do as well as what you cannot do. When I know what I can do,
Yeah.
I will not be able to achieve unless and until I don't know what I cannot do. So when I know both of the aspects, I will be able to be more. For instance, if I someone asks me to do something which I cannot do, I should say no to it. I think I'm not capable enough. Yeah, I don't have that expertise. So why don't you talk to someone, or why don't you ask that person? They might have that. Instead, saying yes to it and then failing in it, and then having that negative perception about yourself that you are not able to achieve it. Again, you need to know what your potentials are. That is how self-efficacy is going to help you.
Tuba, I have a point here. I think it's also very important to understand that and correct me if I'm wrong, we are in competition only with ourselves. So you just need to up the bar for yourself. आधी से ज्यादा जो प्रॉब्लम है ना हमारी, आई थिंक कल्चरली, कि हम जो हैं हर वक्त दूसरों से कंपटीशन में रहते हैं, या अपना बेंचमार्क हम दूसरों के आगे रखते हैं,
हिसाब से सेट करते हैं.
बिल्कुल. यू ओनली नीड टू प्रूव एनीथिंग एंड एवरीथिंग टू योरसेल्फ. It's all within your own capacity.
True.
Absolutely. And I think I did mention कि हमारा जो culture है, it has conditioned us to question ourselves in comparison to what my khala's beta have achieved.
बिल्कुल. perceive एक वो स्टैंडर्ड है ना.
जी, एग्जैक्टली. एंड ये हमारी कंडीशनिंग है. तो अगर मैं ऐसा कंडीशन हूँ तो इसको तोड़ना थोड़ा मुश्किल होगा. अगेन इस चीज की प्रैक्टिस चाहिए. यू नीड टू डू इन सेफर environment, safer task, so it is easier for you to do it later in the difficult task. I think Ali, when I'm talking about when you are doing
something and you are thinking that you can't do this, this is negative.
I don't understand. You are thinking that you can't, so this is negativity for me.
Yeah, it's again like
Just
you
do
said,
it if you think you cannot do that.
I think realizing your limitation and expectations as well, like, you know, okay, what you can do, and accepting yourself also, okay, like, you know, what you can do.
Actually, I have a very practical example.
Something can be, for instance, something is a task given by your teacher, you have to do it. But again, you need to do it in a point of the day where you feel fresh, when you feel less exhausted. Because there will be time at the in your day when you were tempted to do something else instead of completing your task. But if it is something that you can say no to and still be okay, then it's fine, say no.
तूफा इसका एक बड़ा प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल भी है कि यू नो, फॉर एग्जांपल, आई एम अ ह्यूमन रिसोर्स प्रोफेशनल. ठीक है. अब मुझे कोई कह दे कि सॉफ्टवेयर का एक प्रोग्राम लिख दो, तो ये सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता ना. मैं नहीं कर सकती. मेरे पास वो टेक्निकल एक्सपर्टीज नहीं है. अगर कोई आके ये अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशंस मेरे पास रखेगा, तो पहली बात ये, मैं नोइंग माय कैपेबिलिटी पहले ही बोल दूंगी कि आई एम सॉरी, आई डोंट हैव द एक्सपर्टीज. Secondly, I mean, speaking for myself, I'm not going to beat myself about it. कि हाय, मुझसे किसी ने कहा था सॉफ्टवेयर का एक प्रोग्राम लिख दो और मैं नहीं लिख पाई और मैंने उनको मना कर दिया. अब वो सोच रहे होंगे कि ये तो इतना सा काम भी ना कर सकी.
Exactly. I think this is something like, you know, we feel that we are afraid to say no because we feel that if we would say no, so then it's a complete failure of us. Oh, इसको तो ये वाला काम नहीं करना आता है. Like, you know, या इसको ये नहीं पता.
Fear होता है आपका.
Someone have asked me to do something. Either I don't like it and I don't know how to do it, I'll say no. And I don't know it and I'm curious about what that is. So I might say then, look, I have no idea what this thing is about, but let me give it a shot. You can give me some resources, let me study and let me try. If it's a failure, I'm already giving you a heads up that I might fail. So in that way, you have given yourself a chance to do something out of your comfort zone, and if you succeed, it's part of your CV.
और लेकिन तूफा इसमें एक और पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू भी है कि समटाइम्स maybe it is with very much within your capability, but you already have too much in your plate and you might have to regret. देखिए, हम कल्चरली हमें नो बोलना भी बड़ा मुश्किल लगता है. ठीक है. बिकॉज अगेन दैट फियर ऑफ बीइंग जज्ड जो है ना. और लेकिन हर चीज का एक तरीका होता है. यू नो, यू कैन बी वेरी पोलाइट एंड से दैट आई एम सॉरी, आई हैव टू मेनी डेडलाइंस कमिंग अप and this is not something I will be able to help you with. But I mean, if it's a class project or if it's an assignment that needs to be turned in, then that's definitely within the purview of your course. You should do it. And if you're not being able to meet those deadlines, then it's something that you need to ask or at least ponder कि ऐसी क्या बात है जो hamper कर रही है कि आपकी realistic timelines और realistic चीजें भी नहीं achieve हो रही हैं.
For instance, अगर अभी आप अब again ये जो deadlines है, I was about to say, thank you for saying that, कि if I'm not able to meet the deadlines with just one task also, then that's where I need to think about how I am dealing with my routine and my task. But again, if it's too much on your plate and you know that, for instance, I think if you can give quality work within a set number of tasks, that is more important than giving less quality with more tasks. So yes, learning to say no is a little difficult, but again, judgment, your judging yourself is, I think, more important than focusing on what others are going to judge you about for.
Also, the fear of judgment from others, I think that's where you can't say no, and you just need to learn, okay, what's about you and what's about other people.
और वो
Yeah.
सेल्फ अवेयरनेस से आता है. When you have
बिल्कुल सही.
accepted yourself, when you are aware about your own self, you will be able, for instance, if I am allowing myself to say no, I might accept someone else saying no to me as well. So I think that is where self awareness will help understanding and accepting others also.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Tuba. We have taken so much of your time and we have exceeded our time limit as well. But thank you so much for answering our queries and for giving us this very great presentation. And I would like to thank you from Habib University to you. And it was such a nice experience, to have you, on our board.
It was
Anything
a
that you would
pleasure.
like to say in the end?
It was a pleasure. What Habib University is doing, I am so happy. It's very near to my house, so how Habib University has changed that area and brought so much positivity in just that area
Yeah.
shows what their main. So how much positivity would be inside that campus. So I'm very
Yeah.
happy that quality of education you guys are providing helps our students to feel secure that even if they are not able to go outside Pakistan, they are getting the same quality of education inside their own country.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tuba.
You're welcome.
And again, looking forward to see you again in the future as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for our audience as well, and hope that we would have our next session very soon. So see you then, inshallah. Ta'ala. Take care, Tuba. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.